Deep inside a cave in southern France, someone picked up a piece of ochre. The year was 36,000 years before any city existed, before any writing. They pressed it against the stone wall, and they drew. One line, then another, a shape emerging from nothing, with confidence, with skill, as if they had been doing it all their lives. Because they had. 36,000 years ago, a number so large it is almost impossible to hold in your mind. In the dark, alone, or perhaps with others. Either way, making something. Either way, choosing to be there. No audience, no museum, no approval from anyone, no likes, no shares, no validation. Just the act, just a hand, and a wall, and something that had to be expressed. Not something that wanted to be expressed, something that had to be. The same feeling every artist in history has known. The thing that must come out. For 36,000 years, that image waited in the dark, unseen, untouched, perfectly preserved in the cool dark of the cave. And then we found it. Sometimes by accident, a caver squeezing through a gap, a torch lighting a wall. And we were overwhelmed by something made before writing existed, before farming, before cities.
The cave paintings of ancient humans are extraordinary. Horses, bison, mammoths, rhinoceroses, lions, animals that still roamed the earth when these images were made. Painted with astonishing skill, movement, life, personality. Each animal is an individual, not a symbol, a portrait. The bison is caught mid-turn, the horse mid-stride, frozen, alive. These are not stick figures, these are living creatures caught in motion. The Chauvet Cave in France contains paintings made 36,000 years ago, discovered in 1994 by 3 cavers who almost missed the entrance. They show lions hunting, rhinoceroses fighting, horses in motion, and they are better than most modern art. Not primitive scratches, sophisticated, confident, breathtaking images made with charcoal, ochre, manganese, and their own hands. Some use the natural curves of the cave wall to give animals a 3-dimensional quality. They saw the animal inside the rock and they released it. The wall itself became part of the art. This is not the behavior of someone making their first marks. This is a master at work. Cave paintings have been found on every inhabited continent. Everywhere humans went, they painted. It is one of the most universal human behaviors. France, Spain, Indonesia, Australia, South Africa, Argentina. The oldest paintings found so far are in Indonesia, over 45,000 years old, on the island of Sulawesi in a cave called Leong Tedange. A pig, a hand, made by someone standing where you or I would stand, at the same height, reaching the same distance, pressing the same pressure, pressing their hand to the wall, blowing pigment around it, leaving an outline. Hands small and large, children's hands, men's hands, women's hands. That handprint says something no translation is needed for. 45,000 years later, you look at it and you feel it immediately. I was here. 3 words. The oldest message, still perfectly understood. That is the oldest sentence in human history. More ancient than any written word, more direct than any spoken one.
But why? Why did ancient humans paint these caves? Nobody knows for certain, but several theories are very compelling. The first theory, ritual and religion. Many cave paintings are in the deepest, most inaccessible parts of the cave. Some require crawling for hours through narrow passages in total darkness. Not near the entrance, not where people lived, deep inside, in the dark, where no ordinary light ever reached, where the darkness was absolute. You had to carry light, you had to crawl, you had to want to be there. This was not convenience, This was commitment. That suggests intention, ceremony, something significant happening in that darkness. Not casual, not impulsive, planned, carried out, completed. The second theory, communication. Art as a shared language, a way of transmitting knowledge across time and distance. Painting the animals you hunted was a way of recording where they were, how they moved, which ones were dangerous, where they gathered. Art as a living encyclopedia of the animal world.
The third theory, shamanism and the spirit world. In many hunter-gatherer cultures, the shaman could cross into the spirit world in a trance. Some researchers believe the cave was understood as a membrane between worlds. The animals painted on the wall were not painted on the rock. The distinction matters. On suggests decoration. Out suggests revelation. They were painted out of the rock, emerging from the spirit world within. The rock was not a canvas, it was a portal. The shaman painted them to bring them out, to make them available for hunting, for power. Art as a tool, as technology, as a way of reaching into another world. The fourth theory, the simplest and perhaps most human. Because it feels good, because it is satisfying, because something inside us has to make. They painted because they could, because it was beautiful, because it felt good, because they were human, and humans make things, always have, always will. Art is not a luxury, it is not decoration, it is what we are.
And here is the twist. When the caves were first discovered, scholars called the paintings primitive, simple, early, a beginning, the first clumsy steps toward real human art. But the Chauvet paintings are 36,000 years old, and they are masterpieces. When the Chauvet Cave was dated, scientists assumed the lab had made an error. Not primitive, not clumsy, fully formed, sophisticated, alive. The very first art humans ever made was also some of the best art humans ever made. This is the most astonishing thing about Chauvet. The mastery was immediate. Cave paintings were not replaced by better art. They were different art, at the same level. Art did not evolve from bad to good. It arrived fully formed. There is no primitive phase in the archaeological record. There is only mastery. The first human art was not a sketch, it was a statement, which means the human capacity for beauty, for expression, for art was already complete. We did not become artists over time, we always were. 36,000 years ago, a number so large it is almost impossible to hold in your mind. Before writing, before cities, before any of the things we call civilization, art came first. Before language was written down, before laws were written down, the creative capacity that built everything came first. Long before anything was built, the hand that painted those horses was already our hand. The same curiosity, the same skill, the same need to make something beautiful. Reaching across 36,000 years, saying, I was here, I saw this, I made this beautiful. And 36,000 years later, someone stands in that cave and feels it.
Subscribe. Every day we dig up one piece of the ancient human story.